You ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-Mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-Mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 22nd day of November, 2021. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here or right now. If you can't see the screen I have up, go to our homepage at cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds, and that will give you one-click access to the show each and every day. It also gives you access to the question box so that you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. On the days you're out of the office or away from your desktop, not to worry, you can still join the show with any internet-connected browser. Simply point it to cfrn.net/live. There you'll find a live real-time simulcast of the show as it unfolds. You just won't have access to the question box. And we also stream live each day on our YouTube channel, which is very easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live each day on our YouTube channel, but we also archive each and every daily show. Currently, there are over 1,800 daily live broadcasts archived there for your educational and viewing pleasure. Now, if you happen to be listening to this broadcast via a podcast, if you would like the full video experience that we provide, including charts and all, then simply hit pause on your podcast player and point your browser to youtube.com/CFRN. With that, we'll open with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your blessings, for your mercy, for your grace. But God, we've got trouble here on planet Earth. America is hurting. Pandemics, racial inequalities, job loss, and political division have caused great suffering among your people. And we, your people, are called to be salt and light on the earth. As Christians, we can begin healing our land through prayer and action. Father, let us come together, not just by words, but a faith that produces works. The love and grace of God can begin turning the tide of America today, and that's what we cry out for today. We look to you and to you only. Lord, help us make wise decisions that move our country in the right direction. Help us to do our part in praying and in staying with what we know is right according to the truth of your word. Teach us to make our actions count and our words matter, and line them both up to your sense of rightness, not ours. Guide us with your eye, grip us with your strong arm, teach us what we need to know to make our lives and our nation count. for you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Happy Monday. All right, guys. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start with the cash markets, the indices as they're called, starting here in the U.S. The Dow currently up 253 points. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, is down 119. The S&P 500 is up 13, and the Russell 2000 is up 6.5. So we have a division in the ranks. We like to see the four major indices all the same color. Doesn't matter if it's all red or all green, but it's in that unity that we find some of our best trading opportunities. So currently we have three of the major indices, the Dow, the S&P, and the Russell in the green. No movers or shakers, but they are in the green. The NASDAQ in the red, and it's actually down about 0.75%, as opposed to the Dow, which is up almost 0.75%. In the commodity basket, crude oil up 35 cents, trading 76.29 last. Make that 76.32 last. Gold down $33.90, trading 18.1780 last. That's a drop of almost 2%. Silver down 31 cents, trading 24.47 last. That's a drop of 1.25%. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei posted a gain of 28 points. The Shanghai rose 21, and the Hang Seng fell 98. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE posted a gain of 31 points. The DAX fell 44. The CAC fell 7. That gives us a mixed day in Asia, a mixed day in the UK, and due to the NASDAQ, it is a mixed Radio Monday here in the US of A. So with that, we'll go to Michael and get a recap of everything that happened this morning in the live training room. After that, I'll come back. We'll take a look at the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, all that, and answers to your questions. At any point during the show, if you have a question, simply type it into the question box, and we'll be happy to answer it for you. So, Michael, I can see your charts. It's all yours.
All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 22nd day of November, 2021. Now, if you've not taken a free trial with us and you want to take a free trial with us, then go here to eminitrainingschool.com. On this page, all that we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number. You can tell us your biggest trading challenge so we can tailor one-on-one training just for you. Hit the send button and you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on that confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click that link, we don't know that you took the free trial. So you got to click on that link. Okay. Okay. Recaps. Now, today we had a very busy day in gold. The other markets we did not have that busy of a day in, but gold we definitely did. All right. So here we go. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today's the 22nd day of November, 2021. We made 12 ticks in crude, 67 ticks in gold, and 1 tick on the ES. Put us at plus 802.5 on the morning session. Today it took 8 minutes and 4 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $110 a contract, and we took a total of 32 trades this morning. So 32 trades this morning. That was a lot of trading, and almost all of them were in gold. So on the month now, we're at $6,190. That's over 16 trading days, averaging $386 per contract per 2-hour trading day. We've now gone 222 out of 225 possible days, getting our goal this year. And that puts us at $128,397 a contract. So over 225 days, averaging $570 per contract per 2-hour trading day. Now, I figured out what was wrong with this. This number right here was not updating last week. This was a 0. So I had to bring it down from right here. See, that number was a 0. Well, actually, it wasn't a 0. It was this number is what it was. And so this number was in here. So this number kept going down no matter what the total number was. But anyway, if you were to quit trading once you got your goal for the day and you were to add 1 contract a month, this is where you'd be. You'd have traded a total of 60.57 hours on the year, and you'd be averaging $3,490 per hour on the year. All right, you'd have traded 718 times in those 60.57 hours. And pretty good average rate right there. All right, so let's get into what we actually did. I'm going to start with the ES because I had the fewest trades this morning. Now, if you look at the 30-minute here, during the break, this is the candle during the break. All right, this is the number I thought it was going to get down to. Well, yeah, it got all the way down there. And there was a huge woo spot. Once it broke down through here, woo spot. This was 50% of this candle. That's why I drew that there. It was 50% of this candle, but it did the whole candle all the way down and then some. And now it's retracing. We'll see what it does on the way back. It should probably pull back up here to 47.14. Okay, but if you look at this was from last week's partners meeting. Look at this, the top of it right here from last week's partners meeting to the tick. If I put this on a daily, because that's what it was from, it's on a daily chart. And this is what I was looking at last week in the partners meeting. And, well, we're looking for it to get all the way back down here to the BBC, but it had to get through the black step line and the MA1 first. And you can see right here, this, if we close down on this candle today, that is really bearish. And I would see it going down to here. Okay, but that was from the partners meeting. So let's get into the trades that we did and didn't do today. All right, or, well, mostly didn't do. Here, let me scroll back here. Okay, so this was our morning session. We missed a trade right here. Okay, it started to break up right here, started working its way up to this zone. We missed a trade right there. Then it got jammed up in this zone, started pulling away from it. We had a break even. No, we had a +1 tick right there, and then we had a break even right there. And that was our whole morning with the ES. Now, during the break, things just started falling apart. There was a short right in here during the break, another short here, another short here, another short here. Then it went through the weekly trading zone, and there was a short here and a short here and a short here. Now I'm looking down here at the slingshot as I'm going down here, pointing out all these places where I could have drawn a trend line. There. Now the slingshot's all messed up. It's got to reset. And it was reset. It went through the weekly trading zone, back up. During the reset, on the way back up, it gave a long trade right here. One more long trade right here that would have been a break even. Then it turned around and started going down again, gave a short right there. Would have carried you all the way down to here. Turned around again, almost gave a long there, but it didn't. Then it just got junky and sideways. All right, so all the action happened during the break on the ES today. Let me pop the question box out just in case anybody asks any questions, but nobody is. Okay, so that was the ES. Now, crude oil was a little bit difficult today. We'll get into the crude trades. We had 9 of them, it looks like. And it had some pretty good action at some periods during the day. But we started off with crude. Right here was our first trade of the day, right here on crude, and we stopped out on that one. Now, I missed this one. I was looking for it to get up to here, but it didn't do it right away. It did eventually, but not right away. I missed that one, which would have been a nice trade. Probably would have gotten pretty close to the goal for the day. Then I got this one to stop me out. Then I grabbed this one that gave it back. I think I picked up 10 ticks on this first one right here that put me at +2. I think, no, I'm not. Hang on, let me look and see. No, 9 ticks. I was -8 and I picked up 9 ticks on that, put me at +1. Then I had a break even here. Then I stopped out again, put me at -7. Then I got 1 tick there, put me at -6. A break even there. Missed a trade there. That would have been nice to get that one. Then from -6, I picked up 21 ticks right here to put me at +5. No, I'm sorry, +15. Then I stopped out there, put me back down to +7. Then it got all sideways in here. We didn't have anything. There was one long trade in here that I missed right there. Another one right there that I missed. And I took a break even there, a +5 there. I missed that short, which would have been okay. The long trade over here would have been okay. That would have been a profitable trade there and there. But I picked up 5 there that put me back up to plus 12. Then I had a break even there, and that is where we ended for the morning session on the ES. And you can see all this right here when it started happening. 11:32. It's like this 1 minute right here was pretty active. And then something happened that let it down here from 11:40 right here to 11:41. Had a pretty big move right there. Somebody was anticipating that move. Then right here, something hit, and 42:08 and 42:49. So there's 40 seconds for that huge move. Then 50 down to here, 2 seconds for this move. And so you can see it was just bouncing all around between 11:42 and 11:43, and then 11:43 all the way over to 11:44. 11:45 to 11:40. 11:44 to 11:45 to 46. So all this in here was probably really hard to trade if you were watching it really fast, moving around really fast, and you were quick with your DOM. You might have been able to throw a trade on really fast, but that's the kind of stuff that erases your gains really fast, or gives you gains really fast, but depending on what you trade. Okay, so after that, there was some more opportunity here on the downside. This was all on the ES, and this was all during the break. There was a couple of trades in here that you could have done. Nothing in here. Nothing really in there. And it brings us right to now. So most of the action happened during the break in this huge candle. I'm sorry, on the ES. I gotta go back here to the 30-minute on the ES to show you the huge candle. This huge candle right here. That was most of the action. This one right here on the way up, it was kind of choppy and sideways and mixed up in weekly trading zones. This one here, it was in between zones, and it was definitely, if you were really fast, it could have been tradable. Now, gold. All right, this is where it all happened today. Okay, so we'll start out all the way over here. There was a shorting opportunity right in here that I missed right there. And then it looks like it gave another one right in here that I missed. And then it turned around and started moving up. Now right in here was our first trade on gold. And on this one, we picked up 10 ticks. And the second one, we picked up 9 to put us at 19. Then the one after that, we picked up, we had a break even. Then we missed a few trades right in here, another break even, another break even. Then we picked up 7 to put us at plus 26. And we went from 26. I think we might have missed one in here because we went to 26 and then we went from 26 to 43. And this looks like a 15 tick trade right here. It would have put us to 43. Then a 4 tick trade to put us at 47. Then a 10 tick trade to put us at 57. Then a 5 tick trade to put us at 62. Then this right here, I think I actually lost a tick on that because it went down to 61. Then we had a break even. Oh, this is one that I lost a tick on. Okay, so we had break even, lost a tick. Then we went to 65. So I got 4 on that, went to 65. Then I had a couple of break evens in the same trade right there. Then I stopped out and went down to 57. Then I got 5 to put me back to 62. Then a couple more to get me, a few more to get me to 65 again, and a break even, and a plus 2 to get me to 67. And that's where we ended the morning session. Now, I was looking for it to get down to here at the end of the session. You can see it did. And let's see, was there anything tradable in here? Yes, right here there was a short. Right here there was a short. And that was it for gold. So we had a whole bunch of trades in gold this morning. But, okay, let's bring this back up. This. All right, now if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 22nd day of November, 2021. Made 12 ticks in crude, 67 ticks in gold, and 1 tick on the ES. Put us at 802.50, I'm sorry, 802.50 on the morning session. Today took 8 minutes and 4 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $110 a contract, and we took a total of 32 trades. So on the month now, we're at $6,190 a contract. That's over 16 trading days, averaging $386 per contract per 2-hour trading day. On the year, we've gotten our goal in 222 out of 225 days, and that puts us at $128,397 per contract per 2-hour trading day. So we're 225 days averaging $570 per contract per 2-hour trading day. If you were to quit when you got your goal for the day and you added 1 contract per month, you would have worked a total of 60.57 hours so far and averaged $3,490 per hour. Okay, free trial. If you haven't taken the free trial with us, go here to eminitrainingschool.com. And right here, all we ask for is your first name, your email, your phone number. You can tell us the biggest trading challenge so we can tailor one-on-one training just for you. Hit the send button, you'll be sent the confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link, okay? If you don't click that link, we don't know you took the free trial, so make sure you click on that link. All right? All right, guys, that's it. With that, we're going to pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready. Put that there, that there, that there. Okay, Dwayne's not ready. All right, well, let's look at what's happening here. We're going down to this weekly trading zone now. And you see, this is the junk that I got in last week. So let's go look at that junk. We didn't want to trade when it was in there last week. Look at it on the 4-hour chart. Crunch it all up. Ooh, these moves are just too big for it to get crunched up. Here, if I move this down. I don't know, you just can't look at it on the 4-hour chart because the moves are just too big. If I double click over here, that should bring it down to size. There it goes. Okay. Yeah, so right here, it should pull all the way back down to the BBC. This is a 4-hour chart, but the BBC on the 4-hour chart's down here to 4701. We'll just say 4700. That's probably where it should pull back to right now. And we'll see if it, yeah. So what was the low on this? It did pull back to that already on the last candle. That's the 4-hour BBC right there. So we dropped right through the 30-minute. And now it's probably going to pull back up toward the 30-minute. But this area right here was where we didn't want to trade last week. We didn't want to trade in this garbage right here. I'm going to remove it for right now because it's no longer valid. But you can see the weekly trading zones are coming into play on all of these. Well, they didn't on this one. I went right through it twice. But this one is and this one is. And that's what it looks like. All right, put that back there. And here we go. So you see it's approaching the zone again. Now, does anybody have any questions about anything? Anybody? You guys never have questions. All right. Well, Dwayne, if you're back yet, I don't know if you're back. Apparently not. Okay, so this is dropping right into the zone. Now we'll see if it's going to drop through the zone right here. It's at a point where it's really going to have to make a decision because you see the bottom of this is right here. There should be some buying pressure right here, and it happens to be a zone. So this should be a pretty good bounce, probably back up to the BBC at 47.13. That's what should happen. Now we'll see what actually does happen. I don't know why it sold off like it did, but well, it did. And that's what we have to deal with. Okay, you see this all the way back here from earlier. We'll see where it goes from there. Just jump back here. We're not going to have a trade set up here on the ES, not on the 4-tick range. Crude oil might have something, and if we're looking at crude on the upside, crude should get up to 76.90 right now. Okay, it should get up here, 76.90 right now. And above 76.90, it should get to 77. Okay, got pretty close to 76.90 right there, but now 77 is where it should go up to right now. Okay. And gold, see if gold's giving us anything. It kind of is 12.4. I mean, we don't have a trade set up for it. 12.4 is what it's looking like. And if I go back here to the ES right now, yeah, there's not really anything showing on the ES. It's not really sure what it wants to do here. It really is at a decision point here. It's probably going to go back up a little bit. What was the number that I said? 47. It was the BBC. Whatever the BBC's at on a 30-minute. Here, 47.14. Okay, so probably right up to here is where the ES should probably be trying to get to. All right. So there's that, and that, and that, and that. And now we'll just wait for Dwayne to come back. Okay. All right. Well, you can take it back anytime. All right.
All right, there we go. Recap of the recap.
Today, it took 8 minutes and 4 trades to get to $110 a contract.
Good job.
Good.
Okie doke. Okay, that's what happened this morning over 2 hours from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. It was a great morning of trading for everybody that was in the room, along with providing live training each and every day for 2 hours every trading day, of which we have a short week this week with Thanksgiving coming up, along with the live training that's provided each and every day, not only in the room, but also our members have access to unlimited one-on-one mentoring. We also have a Logic 247 around the clock 24/7 E-mini alert service. We cover not just the E-minis, but also crude, gold, and silver. The Globex markets open at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, and they remain open around the clock until Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern. Since the markets opened last night, we issued a total of 14 alerts. 3 never triggered, still waiting on the outcome of 1. That gave us 10 actionable alerts, of which 1 has been stopped out based on not risking more than, or 10%, based on not risking more than $300 per contract per trade, less when possible, using market structure and a very simple 3-step process that we teach all of our traders. Now, along with the logic alerts, which come out around the clock, could be 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. We have traders around the world, so our day session is their night session, and vice versa. The concierge alerts have a different format. They are posted as a static report shortly after the Globex Open each evening. So tonight, shortly after the Globex Open, 6 p.m. Eastern tonight begins the Tuesday session, even though it's still Monday night here in the US of A. I was having plumbing issues last night. I'm still having plumbing issues today, so I was a little late getting out the CTAs last night. Got them out at 7:20 p.m. Eastern. You'll notice there's 2 numbers for each market. As we go to the charts of the individual markets, you'll see I've drawn a line in the sand at 47.06, drawn a line in the sand at 46.89. It's important to note when this static report is published, take note of where price is when this report posts. Because if from there price starts to climb, that's bullish, so you'll be looking for opportunities to be long the market using Logic 247 and everything you learn each and every day in the live training room. If on the other hand, price starts trending down towards 46.89, that's bearish, and so you will use Logic 247 and everything you learn in the live training room to find opportunities to be short the market. This is forward-looking guidance for the entire session. The numbers are good for the entire session. And once an alert triggers, whether it's a logic alert or a concierge trade alert, there's a greater probability of the alert triggering multiple times than not triggering multiple times once it triggers the first time. So with that, grab a screenshot if you want, and then we'll go to the charts. Okay. Starting out with the daily chart. That daily chart. Okay. All right. Friday, we put in a new all-time historic intraday high, but not a new all-time historic closing high. We opened last night, and on Friday, we ran up to the 24% fib extension. And then this session, the high of the session, took us to a new all-time historic intraday high. So you can see I've adjusted the upper fib to embrace the new all-time historic intraday high. That puts the 24% fib retracement, which is the shallowest possible fib retracement, at 46.27.5. However, before price can get to the 24% fib retracement, it's got to get through the daily BBC. Whenever price on the daily chart or on any chart hits the BBC, we expect a bounce. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't. The larger the time frame, the greater the probability that it is going to hold and create a bounce. Whether price approaches it from below and gives us that leg, or as we'll see here in coming days, as it drops to the BBC, we'll catch a bounce to the upside. So the important numbers to keep in mind for today are, of course, resistance is at the high of the session. Support is at the step line or the low of the session. This daily step line has served as good support for today's session. Again, we had a new all-time intraday high Friday, but not a new closing high. Now we have another new all-time historic intraday high today. Where will the market close? If it closed right here, right now, we would have a new all-time historic closing high. So we'll have to see how the remainder of the session turns out. Now, should price ultimately come down through the BBC, the 24% fib, the 38% fib, the 50 to 62, this bullish cross will act as major support right where the cross took place. An example of that is over here, bearish cross, had a leg to the downside. We pull back to the BBC. We consolidated for 3 days at the BBC. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't. And then the candle reached up to touch the area where the bearish cross took place, and that's where it rolled over and gave us our next leg to the downside. And so the reverse is true over here. If and when price comes back to touch this bullish cross area, we expect that to be good support. All right, so there's the daily perspective. It's important, I believe, that you always look at the daily chart of whatever markets you're trading before you start your trading session, so that you can identify the major areas of support and the major areas of resistance. Resistance as identified on a daily chart is much different than resistance as identified on a 5-minute chart. Support on a daily chart is far more important than support as shown on a 5-minute chart. The larger the time frame, the more important the information. If buyers get their act together and take out the high of the session, okay, we've already hit the 24% fib extension. The 38% fib extension is way up here at 47.93. and then there's the 50% extension, and there's the 62. We've not had a pullback to the BBC since we began this bull run on October 14th. This last leg up began on October 1st, and from that low to this high, to this retracement low, that's what allows us to project these levels out into the future where price has never traded before. It's not some new shiny thing in the world of trading. This is 14th century math. It's baked into the cake. It's woven into the very fabric of the universe. Okay? Can't escape it. It's in our DNA. It's in a flower. It's in a pretty woman's face. If you don't know much about fibs, you should learn a little bit. And for fun, you should Google fib face. It's a proven fact that when someone with a symmetrically perfect face, based on the golden ratio, looks down at a little baby in a crib, the baby laughs and coos. But when a person with a face that is not symmetric, the person that we might call ugly, and that's an ugly thing to say, but when they look down at the little baby in the crib, they cry, they fidget, they get extremely upset. Now, I'm not making this up. When you have time, just Google fib face. It'll get you interested enough in the math behind the golden ratio that you might want to do a little more research. Just don't make the mistake of buying that $20,000 software that draws the fibs for you, because every trading platform I've ever used comes with its own built-in fib tools. There's the retracements, there's the extension tool on DT Pro right there, Fibonacci price extensions. Yes, you have to manually draw the lines in, but you can save yourself 20 grand by just drawing the lines yourself, because the ad copy that goes along with that $20,000 software, it blows a lot of hot smoke up your chimney. Okay, hang on to your cash, draw your own fibs. If you need help, ask. On the S&P, this is what we talked about in the live training room this morning, guys. This is the trade I got out of too early. Okay, it was a counter trend trade. I don't put counter trend trades in the alert channel. Doesn't mean I don't trade them, but anyway, talked about the potential for price pulling all the way back to the BBC and possibly even dipping enough just to get below the trigger, and that's exactly what it did. Now, there's no magic involved there. There's no secret. I clearly explained it in the live training room. That was one of the possibilities, and sure enough, that's how it unfolded. Now, these are last week's weekly trading zones on my chart. By tomorrow's show, I will have rolled forward to the new weekly trading zones. The weekly trading zones are published every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. We've published the zones since December 14th of 2009. Our traders get the zones on their charts every Monday morning before Wall Street even wakes up. But you don't throw out the old zones until it's obvious the new zones have taken over. And look at how many hours we spent last night consolidating at last week's weekly trading zone. Only 3 things happen at a weekly trading zone. The most likely thing is this consolidation. The second most likely thing is rejection. I'll show you that when I come across it. The third and least likely is the slice. We've seen more slices of late than we've ever seen, but we are at all-time historic highs, and the market can behave erratically at all-time historic highs. Now again, these are last week's zones on my chart, but as this candle sliced through, it then retraced back to the zone it sliced through. And what typically happens is price then continues in the direction of the slice. And it still may, because we've run into the BBC, which we expect to be good resistance. If it is, pullback holds more often than it doesn't, then we'll catch another leg to the downside, which would put us back below the trigger and set us up for another long trade. So here's the open last night. Here's the first candle of the week. Price comes up to the trigger at 47.06, puts in a nominal high at 47.07 and a quarter, then it just barely dips back below the trigger, and then it runs right to the target. So from the published entry to the published target, we use last week's zones on Sunday night because the new zones don't come out till Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So from the published entry to the published target was 3 points, $50 a point, $150 per contract traded. Then price got back below the trigger, ran to the target again. And then price got back below the trigger and ran to the target again. Now, not all triggers are created equal. On a long trigger, we like the benefit of blue and climbing. On this last trigger, okay, this one here, you had red and falling overhead. It was slightly above the target, so some of you who are more bold than others might have taken this, but the guidelines suggest that you don't want to go long into what is potentially resistance. And it did serve as resistance for a number of hours until price established itself above the zone and red and sideways became once again blue and climbing. Okay, then we dropped back below the trigger and we ran right up to the target again, but again we're dealing with red and falling, so you've got to be very careful. Right here, red and falling is right at the target. Did the trade work? Yes, it did. Did it go against the grain? Yeah. Down here on this trigger, price is below the BBC. Based on a 30-minute chart, we only go long above the 30-minute BBC. We only go short below the 30-minute BBC. So while this did a fine job of coming down and triggering again, I know that some of you who have graduated from trading the mechanical model in the live room to discretionary trading, I know that some of you were all over this. Congratulations. Bells for you. All right. The Dow. Okay. See this bearish cross? The vertical line, by the way, separates today, the Sunday Monday session, from the Friday session. On Friday, we had a bearish cross. As price attempted to rally today, it ran out of steam right at the bearish cross. And then it tried again, and then it tried again, and now it looks like it's getting ready to try again. So far, it has not been able to overcome a combination of last week's zone and that bearish cross. I believe that bearish cross is carrying as much weight, if not more right now, than the actual zone itself. Okay. Now, on the long side, we want blue and climbing when we trigger. And unfortunately, on this little trigger here, we've got blue and climbing has turned to red and falling. Over here, a little different story. Well, we still got red and falling on this one, but on this trigger, we've now reestablished blue and climbing, and that took us up to the target at 35,760. $720 was the trigger, but again, these triggers not valid, and from 720 we went to 760. That's 40 points, $50 a point, $200 per contract traded. And then price, we've got blue and climbing, and then price dipped back below the trigger again at 720 and took us right back up to the target a second time. So that's another 40 points at $5 a point, $200 per contract traded. And it looks like price may just come back to test the BBC again. Remember, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. As it drops to the BBC, it just might spike it enough to get below the trigger, and then we're off and running again. That's the story on the Dow, on the Russell. Okay, last night's CTA on the long side, it's 23.53. The short side was 22.37. As you can see here, Russell 23.37. Okay. All right. So, vertical line separates Friday from today. Here's where we opened. We had a bullish cross. We triggered on the long side at 23.53 right here. And we put in a swing high at 58.40. So that's, we'll call it 5 points, $50 a point, $250 per contract traded. We dipped back below the trigger here. However, as we triggered, we got red and falling overhead. That's a problem. We're also below the BBC. We don't belong below the BBC. That's the general guideline. Okay? Over here, we get back below the trigger again, but we've still got this issue overhead. So what we need right now is we need the BBC to drop below that long trigger, and then we could catch a good trigger. Now, if you were trading just using the strategy, the methodology, Logic 247, price did put in a swing high at 23.72. So that's almost 20 points at $50 a point, $1,000 per contract move. There were issues, as I explained. On the short side, 23.37, we put in a swing low at 32.1. So that's almost 5 points at $50 a point. It's 4.9 at $50 a point. Then we got back above the trigger, triggered again, this time from 23.37. We dropped to a low. We'll call it 23.34 to be conservative. That's 3 points, $50 a point, $150 per contract traded. We're on the verge of getting a bearish cross up here. So any other opportunities to short 23.37, that would be a viable opportunity. On the NQ, we only triggered once on the NQ. It was a parabolic move worth $1,900 per contract traded, if you got out at the exact swing high. If you got out when I mentioned it this morning in the live training room, you still held on to most of your gains. Price comes back down through the BBC, rips through last week's weekly trading zone, and now that that slice has run out of steam, price is trying to retrace to the zone it sliced through. Once it gets there, if it gets there, it's not only going to run into last week's zone, it's going to run into the step line, both of which have the potential to act as good resistance, and so we would look for another leg to the downside. The short trigger on the NQ last night, we had two-sided action. $16,550 was the trigger, and the swing low was $455. So that's going to be 95 points at $20 a point. It's $1,900. So on this one trigger on the long side, that's a $1,900 per contract move, and this one trigger on the short side, $1,900 per per contract move. Interesting. I'll leave it at that. Very interesting. Okay, I'll file that away for further thinking later on. So we covered the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, the NQ. Actually, we just had another short trigger. Got red and falling overhead. We're below the BBC. I don't know how far this thing dropped. We'd have to go to a smaller time frame to see. Because this candle closed here, and it ran up above, and then it dropped back below. So, if you were able to take advantage of that, congratulations. Next, crude oil. All right. No trigger on the short side, long side. Finally triggered. So from 77, we put in a swing high at 77.16. That's $160 per contract traded. Here's where we opened last night. We almost triggered on the short side. The price was rejected. It sent us up to the VBC where we consolidated for quite a while. The BBC on this first move up held as resistance, but it sent us down to blue and climbing, which we know represents support. And so blue and climbing walked us right back up to the BBC. So there was quite a battle here between buyers and sellers. Buyers ultimately won. You would expect that because you have blue and climbing. Okay. And it ran right up to the weekly zone overhead at 76.30. Okay. And that's the story on crude. On gold. No trigger on the long side. Here's the open. We pulled up to the BBC, which we expect to be resistance, and it was. When price pulls up to a weekly trading zone, we expect it to be resistance, and it was. So that's what I call resistance times 2. And that's what we got. So now the alerts were posted a little later than normal last night. So this trigger can't really count that, okay, because it wasn't until about this candle that I got the alerts out. Okay, so skip that one. 1843 we dropped to 1841.3. So that's $170 per contract traded. And then price got back above the trigger, pulled up to the BBC. We expect that to be good resistance. It was. So down we go again. This time we trigger 1843. And we put in a swing low at 1838.3. So if we called it 39, that'd be $400. So it's $400 and change per contract traded. Then we get back above the trigger, and then the bottom falls out. Now the target, the published target, is the zone below, 1834/35. So from 43 to 35, that's $800 per contract traded, but price just kept going. And so those of you that have learned the methodology, learned the strategy, know how to look at a 30-minute chart, understand the meaning of the step line being on the left side of red and falling on a 30-minute chart, some of you could potentially still be in this trade because we do not have an official exit signal. This is last week's lowest weekly trading zone for gold, 1810/11. And we discussed when I popped into the room this morning, I drew in this little window of opportunity. For those of you that traded that move, that bell's for you. So here we are consolidating at last week's zone. So as you can see, last week's zones are still holding sway over the market. You don't throw out the previous week's zones until it's clearly evident that the new zones have taken over. In the final market, silver. Two-sided action on silver. 24.79 was the trigger. The trade to target on every long trade, the final trade to target is always the weekly zone above. I drew this in the live training room this morning for the guys, so for those of you that took a piece of that, that was for you. So we didn't quite make the target, 24.97. Our swing high was 24.95. So that's 16 pennies. 2 pennies is $100, so that's $800. And then price comes down, triggers again, but not all triggers created equal. We don't want to go long in the face of red and falling. So price drops down to the trigger at 24.53, puts in a low at 24.45. So what is that? 12 points, I believe. No, hang on. 45 to 53. No, that's 8 pennies. $400 per contract traded. Then price got back above the trigger, triggered again. This time it dropped all the way to 24.34. Okay, that's almost a 20-cent move. Which would be $1,000 per contract traded. Then we got back above the trigger, triggered again, back above the trigger, triggered again, back above the trigger, triggered again, and the low of the move so far is 24.25. So that's $1,250 per contract traded, roughly. And the target, of course, is the zone below. Remember, the final trade to target on every trade, whether it's a logic alert or a concierge alert. If it's a long, the final trade to target's the zone above. On the short, the final trade to target is the zone below. So I'm really glad I popped into the room this morning and drew in those few windows of opportunity. Hopefully that helps some of you. And that brings us right back around to the daily chart, where price is just sitting here. Now, this was the previous all-time historic intraday high, and that's roughly where price is right this very minute. Okay? So buyers have to make their case. We're coming up off that long CTA. Okay? Obstacles overhead. Potentially the step line. Potentially red and falling. Now we know we have a window of opportunity way up here, but we got a window there. 31 to 33, we got a window there. And then from 35 to 39, we have a window there. Now, if buyers are committed, this could all become one big window of opportunity. But we take it in bits and pieces and, trade what's in front of us based on the time frame that you choose to execute your trades on. Whether it's the 4-tick range, whether it's the 1597, whatever it is you're using, trade what's in front of you. Okay? All right. That's it. Time now for our good word for the day. Back on Friday. Oh, looks like a question in the question box. Michael R. sharing with us. Thank you, Michael R. From Investopedia, U.S. equity markets are rising with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ on track to set record highs. Onward, President Biden is set to nominate Fed Chairman Joe. Yes, that caused that big spike this morning. Thank you very much, Michael. Powell is considered more hawkish than the other guy that was being considered, Brainerd. So, interesting that such a liberal president would choose a hawkish Fed. I'm going to have to spend some time thinking about that. I got to unravel that. That's a mystery. Friday we talked about God's answer to worry. We talked about 2 Timothy. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and a sound mind. Today I'll take you to Hebrews 5:4. Hebrews 5:4. And no one takes this honor on himself, but he receives it when called by God, just as Aaron was. So the title, if we had one, is Speculation or Revelation. Speculation or revelation. When it comes to knowing what God has called you to do in life, you've got two options. Option number one, speculation. Dr. Hugh Moorhead, who heads the philosophy department at Northeastern Illinois University, wrote to 250 well-known philosophers, scientists, writers, and intellectuals, asking them the time-honored question, what is the meaning of life? We've all asked ourselves that question at some point. There's also a pretty funny movie, The Meaning of Life. What was that theater troupe that did that? Somebody in the audience will think of it. I think it was called Brian and the Meaning of Life. Gosh. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. So, we've all asked ourselves the question, what is the meaning of life? Now, according to Dr. Hugh Moorhead, he wrote to 250 well-known philosophers, scientists, writers, intellectuals, asking all of them that question, what is the meaning of life? Then he published their responses in a book. Some offered their best guesses, some admitted they had made up a purpose for life, and others were honest enough to say they were clueless. In fact, a number of them asked Moorhead to write back and tell them if he himself had discovered the purpose of life. So thank God there's a scriptural alternative to speculation. Remember, when it comes to knowing what God has called you to do in this life, you have two options: speculation, which we just covered, and revelation, which we'll cover now. No one takes this honor on himself, but he receives it when called by God. When you know God has called you to do a certain thing, you can be confident He will provide the resources, wisdom, connections, and strategy. At no point in my life is that truth more evident than in New Hope Orphanage. When my wife and I bought 5 acres of land in Kampala, Uganda, East Africa, a place we'd never been, by the way, our family and friends thought we had lost our mind. I mean, literally, they were talking about having us committed. But you see, we didn't have the education. We didn't have the knowledge. We didn't have the pedigree. We didn't have any letters after our name. And we certainly didn't have a lot of money. But God spoke to us both about the same thing. And the word says, when any two under one roof come together and agree on something, get out of the way, because it's about to happen. So my wife and I, in prayer, agreed on that one thing. That was 21 years ago, guys. In the year 2000, we broke ground on New Hope Orphanage without the resources, without the education, without the finances, just a word from God. But for us, that was enough. Today, that campus sprawls over 25 acres. It's home to over 700 orphans who've lost their parents to either the deadly ravages of AIDS or the ongoing wars and conflicts in that country. And we provide a tremendous number of jobs at the orphanage. Jobs in Kampala are hard to come by. So, revelation, that's what we had. Revelation knowledge. Some call it a rhema word from God. When you know God has called you to do a certain thing, you can be confident He will provide the resources, wisdom, connections, and strategy. So we stepped out on faith with what little bit of money we had. And once we planted that seed of faith, people I didn't even know started showing up, putting checks in my hand. I know that sounds like one of them Christian testimonies you hear, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I won't go into the whole full-blown story because I know you've all heard it before. But that's what happened. How do you know if it's God's will or your own vain imagination? Because of what I just said. If God sends you on a mission, He will send the provision. And He did. And continues to do so 21 years later. He will provide the resources, wisdom, connections, and strategy. And here's the great thing. You can find all of these in His Word. The Bible is the original owner's manual when it comes to explaining why you're alive, how life works, what to avoid, and what to expect in the future. It explains what no self-help or philosophy book could possibly know. Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 2:7, "We impart a secret and hidden wisdom of God, which God decreed before the ages for our glory." You've been genetically wired to fulfill a certain purpose in life. And to truly discover it, you must turn to God's Word and not the world's wisdom. And that's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.